Well, hello there, teacher friends. Welcome to the Beyond Measure podcast. Christina Whitlock here, your host, voice of experience, and self-appointed anytime piano teacher friend. This is the place for studio music teachers who like to think big thoughts and find a little camaraderie in the work we do. I hope you have real-life teacher friends that you get to spend time with, but I'm here for you in the meantime as you work to align your busy calendars. And now, friends, let's get on with the show. This is episode 231. So this is the fourth and final installment in a series I've been running here on Beyond Measure about the things that distract us from doing our best teacher work. These episodes have been challenging to put into words because they all require a delicate balance. We started off by talking about business and marketing. Now, obviously, we do need to think about business and marketing. The intention of that episode was to point out that sometimes we avoid doing important work on our actual teaching because it's easier to focus on those elements of business and marketing. Likewise, the next episode examined the distraction of what I call the practice problem. The fact that too many of us blame lack of practice for every student issue we encounter. Complaining about lack of practice is the easiest, least personally accountable path to take. We all know lack of practice is a factor in slow progress. I just want to caution us not to get distracted by the practice problem because it makes it challenging for us to see areas for our own improvement. Last week, I tackled the encouragement problem. Again, clearly, we should be aiming to encourage our students. Please do. The distraction element comes into play when we focus too much on encouraging words and less on understanding the communications our students are giving us. It's a balance, right? Encouraging our students without just dismissing their concerns. Well, friends, I have one more distraction for you today. We're talking today about what I will call the temptation of learning overload. Let's start with the good part. As teachers, we, of all people, should be committed to lifelong learning. There is always more to learn about the art of teaching music, and the art of being a good human, for that matter. The moment we decide we know everything there is to know is the moment we stop being effective as teachers. I've admitted before, there was a period of time in my early to mid-20s when I did think I knew everything there was to know about piano teaching. And I was sorely mistaken. In reality, I probably knew just enough to be dangerous. Some of you may be there now, but you'll figure it out. Continuing to learn more about our craft is something we should all be doing with intention. But let's just take a look at the flip side. The reason I'm naming learning as a distraction today is sometimes consuming information is easier than taking action, which means we can easily spend more time learning than putting that information into practice. Take starting a podcast, for example. There is a lot of learning to do ahead of time and throughout the journey. That's a really important step in producing anything that's worth listening to. However, there is so much content available in the world about starting a podcast, You could easily spend the rest of your life researching the process and never actually get started. Well, teaching is the same in many ways. It's easy to convince yourself that you need to overhaul everything about your approach to lessons. You start taking deep dives into different methodologies and following big names in the profession. You join all the memberships and buy all the materials in hopes of becoming a better teacher, when the number one thing that makes you a better teacher is trying new things in your lessons. That trial and error phase is so important, but a lot of us avoid it because it is uncomfortable. And frankly, it's just harder. It requires so much more emotional labor to try new things in your teaching. Chances are, if you listen to this podcast, you are also someone who takes in a lot of information about teaching from other sources as well. Obviously, I think that's great. I am so glad you listened to this show, and I am right there with you. Podcasts and books and blogs, Facebook groups, social media accounts. I too take in a lot of information about piano teaching every single day of my life. When you think about it, it's kind of crazy, right? I'm not sure how many other professions spend daily time trying to learn how to do their work better. Is that a thing in other career fields? I just don't even know. But it compounds this issue, right? Like, we read and see and learn what other teachers are doing, and it all looks so pretty and so transformative. In reality, there are things about our work that are just plain hard. It's easy to convince ourselves that the solution is out there somewhere and we just need to keep reading to find it, right? Well, we live in a culture that is obsessed with optimization. We are constantly seeking ways to do everything faster and better than ever before. But I keep coming back to this idea that the things we can't seem to streamline about the lesson experience are actually what make it most valuable. Yes, there are things about learning an instrument that are challenging for sure. But instead of searching for ways to make these things easier, what if we leaned into the benefits of the challenge itself? Just like I've been preaching the benefits of play the last few months, maybe the long-term investment of music study should actually become our greatest selling point, rather than viewing that as a negative. I don't know. Again, this is where balance comes into play. I have long said our job as teachers is to find confidence in the fact that we know so much, while also understanding that we have so much more to learn. Both things are true, right? We know many things, but there's still a lot to learn. So, yes, we have room for improvement for how we teach things like technique and artistry, for sure. But also, these things just take time to develop. And sometimes we think something is wrong with us when our students are slow to pick up on these concepts. But really, there's just a lot about our work that takes time. This summer on the podcast, I had a conversation with Leela Viss, and we mentioned her book called Found in the Wake. Found in the Wake is a memoir that details her son Carter's recovery from this horrific accident where he ultimately lost one arm and came really close to losing all of his other limbs as well. But in the book, Carter mentions two words that got him through his remarkable physical recovery. He mentions time and repetition. Carter says those two words, time and repetition, became his focus as he learned to walk again and return to the piano with his new physical reality and all kinds of other things. In the book, Carter says he began to realize that the key to everything he wanted to pursue was time and repetition. He could recover any skill he wanted as long as he applied time and repetition. Now, maybe that seems like a strange parallel to be making here, but after reading that book, that phrase, time and repetition, has found an even more prominent place in my teacher vocabulary. Isn't it true? Can't most of our musical pursuits be accomplished with time and repetition? Well, maybe, but do you know what is more enticing than those two things? Someone else's promise that they have cracked the code and can help you teach those concepts faster and better than ever before. Sometimes we think we are one new teaching philosophy or method series away from figuring it all out. Well, I say this in love, friends. We work in a profession that was built and developed over time by brilliant thinkers. Seriously, don't fall into that trap of thinking that we are wiser than those past generations of piano teachers. If there was a solution to making every student fall in love with the piano and making them want to devote consistent practice time to it every day, someone would have discovered it by now. If there was a solution to getting every student to pay attention to their hand shape and seating posture at home every single time, someone would have discovered it by now. I could go on, but you get my point, right? There are elements of our work that are just tricky. It's not the more attractive option, but time and repetition are sometimes the most reliable elements we have. I mean, you've heard me say it a million times that one mark of a great teacher is the ability to say the same things again and again without taking it personally, right? So, yes, we have things to learn. Each of us probably can improve our approach to teaching technique in some way. We probably can motivate our students in more effective ways. So keep learning, my friends, 100%. But don't let it keep you from taking action in your work, okay? Or don't let it fool you into thinking there is ever going to be a path towards learning an instrument that is free of friction. There's one more problem about learning I'd like to address. Sometimes we consume so much material, it makes it impossible for us to take action on anything. This is how I often feel when I'm at a national conference because I consume so many ideas, it feels pretty much impossible to know where to start when I come home. But I've trained myself to keep a list of action items throughout the conference, and then I come home and implement one at a time. That helps calm the overwhelm. The trouble is, as I mentioned earlier, some of us are consuming piano teacher content on a daily basis. There is so much information coming into our brains, it just becomes noise. We're not doing anything to put the information we're consuming to use. Believe me, I'm guilty of this too. Let's just think about our inboxes for a moment. How many piano teachery things are you subscribed to in your email? Maybe a lot? How many of those do you read closely? Probably not as many. How many of those emails give you something that actually impacts your teaching? I would guess maybe even less. Now, look, I love my fellow piano teacher content creator friends. There are so many of us out here in the world doing cool stuff, and I think we all have our niche audiences. The question is, which of your emails are serving you? I guess I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I got an email from a teacher friend named Sharon who said this: Christina, I've been on your email list for a while, but I only recently started reading your emails. I truly can't decide which is better, your piano teacher confessions or your podcasts. I promise to start reading your emails the moment they arrive in my inbox. I just read 10 of them in one sitting and might keep going. Please keep doing what you are doing. With gratitude, Sharon. So, first of all, thanks, Sharon. That was really flattering. I'm so glad you love Piano Teacher Confessions. Now, I will also say I have been in Sharon's shoes. I have let piano teacher emails build up in my inbox in a way that they are not really serving me, right? And then every now and then I'll read something and think, oh, that's really good. Why didn't I pay attention to that sooner? This seems like a relatively harmless problem of digital clutter, right? But I think it's bigger than that. Too much of anything, even piano teaching brilliance, is going to lead eventually to overwhelm and burnout. And sometimes we go through these phases where we consume, and then what happens? We get tired of it and we give everything up at once. I know, I've been there, done that too. And I've ended up essentially throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I get so tired of feeling overwhelmed with good information, I just clear it all out and end up missing things that truly would impact my life for the better. I guess I just want to offer a word of caution that you want to be mindful of the amount of content you consume. How much is healthy for you? What sources of information are bringing you the most value? Could you make better uses of the sources you love if you quieted the sources you just like? Now, I listen to a lot of podcasts on a lot of subjects, but there's sort of a hierarchy there, right? There are some shows I will listen to as soon as a new episode drops. And then there are others that I can wait for and save for times when I just want some background noise. This is probably bad business to be talking about this, right? I hope I'm not just convincing you to stop listening to Beyond Measure and to stop reading Piano Teacher Confessions. I really do hope these things bring you value. But if they are just noise in your life, then yeah, don't let me be part of the problem. I don't want that. I don't spend this many hours of my week creating these things so they can clutter up your brain. I'm going to admit it now. I want your attention. I really try to create valuable work in everything I do, but I don't want to be noise in your mind. Here's something I've learned from you. Over the years, I've had the pleasure of meeting with many of you for one-on-one teacher consultations. And a few of you have really surprised me by showing up with detailed notes on this podcast. You'll say things like, in episode 37, you said this. And can you please clarify what you meant by this quote in episode 189? It blows my mind that there are people out there who actively take notes while listening to this show. And yet, maybe that should be our standard practice. Many of us, myself included, listen to podcasts as a way of multitasking. But if I'm listening to something and I find myself really wanting to remember it, I do need to take notes in my phone or in an actual notebook. That's just being a good student, right? We can't remember everything we hear, especially in today's age of media overload. It's like that list of action items that I write at conferences. What if, at the very least, you started keeping a list of things that you want to try or thoughts you want to ponder based on the content you're consuming? You could do it in your phone or in a journal. I don't care. Maybe I'm starting to ramble here, but I just think most of us have room for improvement with what we do with the information we consume. All right, since time is running out for us today, let me offer a recap of today's examination of the temptations of learning overload. First of all, we do not want to get stuck in the easier, more comfortable stage of consuming information to the point where it keeps us from taking action in our work. Second, we'll never grow in our teaching if we're afraid of trying new things and pushing through the discomfort of experimentation. Third, time and repetition are the antithesis of optimization culture, but learning to embrace them is a really valuable part of music study. Fourth, we need to remember these dual truths that, yes, we know a lot of things, but at the same time, we have a lot to learn. Both sides of that are important to teacher life. Fifth, remember, consuming too much of anything can lead to overwhelm and burnout. Being more selective of our information sources can help us focus on material that will truly help us grow. And lastly, take an active role in your learning. Taking notes is not just for university students. We would be wise to do it also. And there you have it, friends, the fourth and final installment of this series on the things that distract us from doing our best work. I hope I've given you plenty to think about over the course of the last 4 episodes. We just have such important work to do. Let's not get caught up in those red herrings that lead us off the real path. Let's go ahead and wrap up with a toast, shall we? Studio music teacher friends from all around the globe, today we seize the moment to recenter ourselves on this mission of teaching music through instruments. May we run our businesses effectively, but also remain mindful that the very best way to retain students is to provide an exceptional lesson experience. That begins with helping students feel seen and understood, and it means staying attuned to new developments in education while also finding confidence in our own experience and ideas. It's no small feat, friends, but we can do this together. I'm raising my glass in honor of all of us. Hear, hear. That's episode 231 for you. Next week, I'm coming at you with a fun episode. It's a fan favorite, my quarterly reflections on what is working for me in this season of life. I can't wait to share this one with you because I have some really good stuff to talk about. It's mostly studio related, but some other reflections on life in general. Special thanks to my super friends on Patreon for their support of this show. I'd love to see you over there if you aren't already, so check out the link in today's show notes to find out how you can score great bonuses from me and support this work at the same time. All right, onward and upward we go, my friends.